Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Talented Learning webinar, How to Capture Lifelong Learners, a Holistic Approach to Continuing Education. It's my pleasure to hand the floor over to John Lay of Talented Learning.
Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining today. We had registrants from all over the world, so it's exciting to see that we've got a good topic here that resonates with a lot of association and continuing education professionals. I'm joined today by Tamer Ali of Community Brands, Jake Gold of the Community Associations Institute, and Kevin Pierce of the American Academy of Dermatology, who I'll introduce in just a second more fully. So thanks everybody for coming. As mentioned, I'm from Talented Learning. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Talented Learning, and we're a fiercely independent research analyst and consulting firm dedicated to extended enterprise learning technology. We cover over 175 different learning technology vendor solutions, and for almost 5 years we have produced now hundreds of blogs, podcasts, webinars, all designed to help learning technology practitioners buy and use learning technology better. You can find more of our content at talentedlearning.com. As we mentioned here, or the moderator mentioned, we're recording this. You can also earn 1 CAE credit for the participation today. You just have to email me afterwards. We'll give you information at the end. And we're going to ask, from a stylistic standpoint, we're going to ask our panelists a series of questions today. And in the Q&A, feel free to answer what that answer would be for your organization. It'll be really fascinating to take a sampling from around the world here. Our goals when creating this was really to talk about lifelong competency models and attracting lifelong learners. I've had the privilege now of working with almost 50 association and continuing education providers as a consultant, helping them with their learning technology needs. And what I found is that to some degree, every association and continuing education provider is worried about getting learners to come back time and time again, and facilitating a lifelong approach to continuing education. Some are further along than others on that journey, but that's why we had the panel discussion today, is to bring some experts from around the world that have been doing it, that are thinking about this every day, and have them share their expertise. And so we're going to talk about self-guided and directed content. We're going to talk about the value of digital badges, credentialing, ways to find content, how to price it, how to package it, all to lock in long-term subscribers, and end it all with some advice on getting started. And who's qualified to do that today? It's our distinguished panelists. So it's my pleasure to formally introduce our guests today, who bring really decades of practical experience to our discussion. And each will introduce his own organization in a minute as the foundation for the rest of the questions, so that it will all make sense. So going from right to left here, let's start with Jake Gold, is the Director of Education for the Community Associations Institute, and is responsible for overseeing CAI's educational curriculum for all member types. In this capacity, Jake oversees CAI's online education program, LMS, webinars, and curriculum for all e-learning and instructor-led training. Jake has a master's degree in public administration from George Mason University and is a certified association executive from the ASAE. Welcome, Jake, and thank you for joining us today. Right. And then we also have Kevin Pierce, manages the digital learning team, which is instructional designers and LMS coordination at the American Academy of Dermatology. The digital learning team is focused on continuous user experience, UX improvement, to serve member needs. Kevin has been with the AAD for 5 years and previously held instructional design, LMS coordinator, and facilitator roles for sales training in the corporate environment. Kevin holds a master's degree in teaching from Northeastern Illinois University. Welcome, Kevin, and thank you for joining us today. And
thanks,
thanks, Kevin. And last but not least, Tamer Ali. Tamer Ali is an educational technologist with a passion for developing educational technology. Tamer currently serves as SVP and General Manager of Educational Solutions at Community Brands. Previously, he co-founded Digital Ignite, which built the learning management platform Crowd Wisdom, now part of the Community Brands portfolio. Tamer has more than 17 years experience working in industry-leading ed tech, and he holds a master's degree in human development with a focus on educational technology from George Washington University. Welcome, Tamer.
Thank you, John.
Oh, Well, so that is a mouthful of expertise. And so here's how we're going to start. We're going to let each of our panelists frame out their organization, who they are, what they do, and the educational concept of it. And then from there, we'll ask targeted questions that'll continue to get deeper and deeper here into the successes and best practices of attracting lifelong learners. And so, Tamer, why don't we start with you in community brands?
Thank you, John. Really an honor and pleasure to be on the call today, and thank you everyone for participating. Community Brands is a company serving over 13,000 clients. Beyond the logos you see there, we represent a portfolio of best-in-class software technologies ranging from learning platforms that we've kind of shared today and our customers today, and CRM platforms to mobile apps and event management solutions. Our clients are leading brands, nonprofit organizations, professional bodies, and trade groups. We're constantly serving them. We're trying to be on this constant march to bring frictionless, intuitive, engaging technology to help them make impact with their audiences. And that's really what we're trying to do, and bringing them a seamless transaction and experience to their audiences.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Tamer. Thanks, Tamer. And Kevin?
John, the AAD is a medical specialty society, and our mission has three main pillars: education, research, and advocacy. And like you mentioned, I'm in I manage the digital learning team, and we focus on instructional design and the LMS functionality. So, we're firmly in the education department, and our membership is, virtually all practicing dermatologists in the U.S. So, and we're growing our international membership. But within education, we offer two formats, live and digital, and I focus on the digital end of that spectrum. And all of our content providers are physicians themselves. And so they're providing us with the content. We deliver the content to membership. It needs to be evidence-based, timely, and relevant, of course. But one important distinction with our content that other associations, is we need it to be aligned with recertification and licensure requirements. So these dermatologists, these doctors, have state licensure. They have board certification that they need to be keeping up. And thirdly, we need our activities to be innovative and engaging. Right now, we have over 200 online courses hosted on the CrowdWisdom LMS, integrated with Aptify AMS as our source of record.
Great, great. Well, thanks. Thanks for that overview. It sounds like you guys got your hands full over there with 20,000 doctors needing annual education, for sure.
Yes.
Jake, tell us how the Community Association Institute. Tell us about yourself and what you folks do for a living.
Thanks, John. I also would like to thank you guys, Talented Learning and Community Brands, for hosting this webinar. I'm really honored to be on a panel with such respected and knowledgeable speakers, so I appreciate that.
Great.
A little bit about yeah, of course. A little bit about our organization, Community Associations Institute, or CAI, 45-year-old international membership association. We're based in Falls Church, Virginia. We're dedicated to building better communities. Our members include association board members, homeowner leaders, community managers, and association management firms and professionals who provide products and services to associations. We have nearly 40,000 members, 64 chapters worldwide, including in Canada, the Middle East, and South Africa. And we have relationships with housing leaders in countries like Australia, Spain, and in the United Kingdom. A few interesting statistics about our industry. About 25% of all U.S. housing is part of a community association, meaning a condominium, homeowners association, or cooperative. 1 out of every 5 Americans lives in a community association. And the community association industry has experienced really incredible rapid growth between 1970 and the present. In 1970, there were only 10,000 associations in existence with about 2 million residents. Today, nearly 350,000 community associations with 70 million residents. So you can see this industry has really exploded. We offer education and training for our 3 core members, homeowner leaders, the managers, and the service providers, which we call business partners. Our goal is to help put them all on the right track with education and credentials, much like Kevin referred to earlier, to help advance their career, increase their earning potential, and create successful communities. So as the Director of Education, I'm responsible for overseeing all of our education programs. We currently have 17 courses, both instructor-led and online, and 4 levels of education. We call them our M100, M200, M300, and M400 for managers. And they cover topics like leadership, communications, budgeting, finance, insurance, and law. And all of those courses lead to a series of credentials. The more courses someone takes, the more credentials you can earn. And we have a salary survey that proves that individuals who have earned the highest designations are among the highest paid in our industry. So there's a direct correlation there. And we also have more than 300 products in our LMS, including both e-learning courses and webinars. One last interesting thing to note is our community manager education track has approximately 6,000 learners each year. We began about 10 years ago with 1 online course and a dozen or so e-learning registrants a month, and now nearly half of our entire student population is taking their courses and training in the online format. So it's been a real success for our organization. I'm looking forward to our discussion today and sharing more about our organization and our education programs. Thanks, John.
Wow, outstanding, outstanding. That's quite the transition. Well, let's stay right with you, Jake. That's fantastic. You know, one of the questions that I like to ask all kinds of professionals is just tell me about your technology stack. So in associations, there's LMSs, there's AMSs, sometimes there's CRMs and Salesforce.com, and maybe social platforms that are dedicated, marketing automation tools, virtual classroom, proctoring, customer support, credit tracking. A lot of times these could be in one or many or some systems, and so it's fascinating to hear how you built your stack. So tell us about that, please.
Sure, and we use a lot of those programs that you just mentioned. Really, the central piece of our learning business pretty much revolves around our learning management system. Once we had a platform in place to host and sell our education products, and in our case, that is CrowdWisdom, a whole new world of possibilities really opened up for us. And we've now been using that same platform for 7 or 8 years, and we've never looked back. The technology and infrastructure of this program has really been key to helping us get started and launch our programs. We also value having a social component to our education programs. Our courses, it's helped make them successful. We always encourage collaboration in our e-learning courses, even though they're traditionally an asynchronous learning experience. People do it entirely at their own pace, but we do embed specific questions about the content of the course and encourage our learners to respond and see what other learners have posted. So they sort of get into a little dialogue with each other while they're doing it. And we use our organization's member discussion board to facilitate the dialogue. We also use Abila's Net Forum as our AMS, and this is fully integrated with CrowdWisdom with both single sign-on and the ability to pass both the exam scores and credit information back and forth. This really helps create a real transcript that our learners can see and use and access in real time. Our technology stack also involves working with a lot of third-party vendors. We work with a lot of third parties, from e-learning developers, printers for our course manuals. All of our e-learning students, we ship them actual same participant guide they would get in the classroom. They get it for taking an e-learning course, so we use a printer for that. And we also have a career job board, which we use YM Careers for that. So without our third-party partners, we would definitely need to hire a lot more staff, and they're a huge support for us. Technology has really allowed us to expand the reach of our education programs, generating more revenue, increasing our membership, and delivering more high-quality training than really ever before. So I guess that's how I would answer that question.
That's great. That's great. It's neat to see the different pieces working together and the integrations back and forth. I think a lot of times people just forget that just tying it all together saves so much manual time and effort that it allows you, one, to reduce cost, but the flip side of that is to really get more done with less. I think at the end of the day, that's the most important. Kevin, how do you guys stack it all up at the American Academy of Dermatology?
Well, we also use CrowdWisdom as our LMS, and I completely agree with Jake. Acquiring the LMS, it really gave us a platform that allowed us the opportunity to advance our digital activities. Before that, we were kind of doing piecemeal on our CMS, but the LMS, it's tailor-made for digital activities. So that really helped us develop that component. We also use Aptify AMS as the source of record, and we use our own shopping cart within our CMS rather than using CrowdWisdom's shopping cart. So those are the three main things: the LMS, the AMS, and the CMS. We're also looking at the Freestone component. We're interested in doing some live and recorded webinars. And another thing we're looking at, and a lot of times, in the education department, we get really focused on the LMS because that's where the activities are housed, and that's where the membership is interfacing with our activities. But as we all know, there's plenty of things going on upstream and downstream from the LMS. And so another part of the technology stack that we're really looking at is an editorial management system, an EMS, because like I said previously, our doctors are our SMEs. They're creating this content, and managing that content is kind of a challenge on our side.
Wow. And what you learn something new every day. What exactly does an EMS do?
Well, right now our editorial management is in the form of emails and Word docs and maybe Google Docs flying around. So that's a lot of content, that we have to make sure is correct, obviously. And so, an editorial management system, would give us the ability to, manage the different versions and the different people, and Google Docs can do that to some respect, but we're looking for something a little more powerful, to deal with the versions that are coming upstream of the LMS. All this content is being developed before it's hosted. So, we're looking into that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Sounds like a place you could expand your platform, Tamer. EMS.
Yeah. We hear it all the time. Is how do we control the flow and manage it in a way that's sensible? I mean, Kevin has a great team, but how do you manage the influx of content, whether they're SMEs that he mentioned from physicians or practitioners? We have experts that are in fields like in technology where the people who are managing maybe a high level technology, they're the ones that are on the front lines, and they probably have the most information, but they're so extended or beyond the typical education teams. How do you manage that? Which is, definitely a challenge that I don't think we have an exact solution for our science, but definitely a need.
Yeah, interesting. And to pile on real quick on question one, Tamer, we heard Jake and Kevin describe the different components of their stack. Anything else that you're seeing out there that is becoming more common, maybe like Salesforce.com or something else that is more integrated into association and continuing education stacks than you used to see?
Yeah, definitely. I think more and more the learning platform is not as an island as it is deeply, or at least aspiring to be deeply integrated into the overall business infrastructure, namely the CRM and analytics. These are capabilities that have been around for a while, but I think they've just come around to realize that how do you associate and manage your profiles of users whether it's from a CRM like Salesforce or otherwise, or an association management system or otherwise. And some organizations use things like a partner training platform. Those are typically the user record or system of record. Those are becoming more and more prominent as core integrations. The other is the content management continues to be an integration where the experience is seamless on the web presence. So it's not so much an archaic interface where you log into the LMS and it's very clear that it's an LMS and very boring. Really trying to focus on the aesthetics and the engagement appeal of a much more designed platform. And then on the back end is having that data report into data warehousing and business analytics, that now people are starting to realize that we cannot just be a qualitative science, but a quantitative, and actually having measures that we have in the systems already to report them into data that they're either using for accreditation or just good pure business sense.
Jake had a great example of that earlier when just proven how the higher salaries come with the higher certifications, which is a great way of measuring effectiveness. All right, 23 after the hour. We're going to have to pick this up. We've got a lot of good detail. Question 2. Let's go ahead and start with another one. We started with Jake last time, so Kevin, let's go ahead and start with you. What's your approach at your association to creating that lifelong learning approach? Is it based on competency? How do you folks approach it there?
Well, I imagine a lot of your listeners are probably going through the same thing. Is 20 years ago, lifelong learning was largely a choice. So the membership or the learner could choose, what they wanted to learn, or if they wanted to continue learning at all. But now, within medical specialty societies and a lot of industries, it's no longer a choice; it's a mandate. So there's still plenty of choice provided to learners, but medical specialty societies, including the American Board of Dermatology, which is a separate entity from the American Academy of Dermatology. So the Board of Dermatology mandates maintenance of certification. So it's no longer a lifelong certification. No longer do you take one exam and you're certified for life. You have to continually take recertification in 10-year cycles. So with that changing landscape, the AAD has aligned its educational activities with the requirements of our board and also with the needs of the learners. So, we provide activities, whether live or digital, through the full spectrum of our dermatologists' careers, from residency to retirement. So, we're cognizant that our dermatologists now have to meet certain benchmarks based on the board, for number of credits and types of credits. But we're also, trying to give them the most relevant topics.
Okay. Great. Well, that's very helpful, and in some ways, it almost makes your job easier that there is the mandate, so that they're coming back. Now it's just a matter of making that content more relevant for them, so that they're attracted to you. Is there other places that they? Yeah, please.
Can I break in for a sec? Yeah, you're right. It does make it a little easier because we know the benchmarks they have to meet. But then there's also a little bit of, I don't want to say animosity, but people don't like to be forced to learn. As adult learners, we want to have choice. So there is a little bit of a double-edged sword there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. And the other thing I would add is Kevin's team and Jake and everybody in the space of professional learning and education have another challenge, is that the landscape is much more wide and deep, in that they may be competing with frenemies, they may be competing with pure out competition. They're competing with people that are not true competitors, but they're actually setting the standard for consumer taste. For example, like a Coursera or a LinkedIn, lynda.com or Khan Academy. The people that are adult learners are taking content from all sources, and so their expectations are like when people ask about the functionality that Facebook has or LinkedIn has, they're almost expecting that de facto to be part of learning programs. So that's a challenge for all parties on this call.
But just a quick pile on that, but things like in your industry with the mandated learning, since they have to get credit, does that cut down on like using Google or YouTube and things like that as an alternative for your organization, Kevin? Because they have to come to an accredited provider. Is that a fair statement, or?
Yeah, that is a completely fair statement. They have to get they have to take activities that are accredited by the ACCME, and we're an ACCME provider, so they can't. It's the content is specialty content created by physicians for physicians. So it's not like they can get this content from very many other sources.
Great. And Jake, how is that the same or different to what you're seeing trying to attract lifelong learners in your organization?
Well, in our organization, no one plans on really becoming a community association manager when they grow up. They just kind of find themselves in our industry. But when they do, they grow to love the work and the people, and they're able to forge a really worthwhile career. They appreciate the knowledge and the information that our organization provides that really supports their work. And while new members are joining our organization all the time, many of our members and learners, they've been with us for decades. They've taken most, if not all, of our courses. They're committed to our organization and mission. They followed our education track, earned all of our credentials. A lot of them even take pride in being like the number 17th person, for example, to earn a credential there's thousands of people that have earned a credential since then. So they take pride in their specific number that they earned. But really part of our strategy is to continuously develop new programs, keep them interested, keep them coming back. We have a program called M400, and we call it Contemporary Issues in Community Association Management. We explore hot topics, and the course is different every single year, but it's always a contemporary issue. Like recent topics have been advanced customer service, building and managing green, energy-efficient communities, mediation, and conflict resolution. And these kind of courses are consistently among our highest attended. We've also worked really hard to improve access to our learning content. We video recorded live offerings. We make it available through our LMS. So I think having a continuing and revolving series of fresh content really helps people come back and keeps them interested in what we have to offer. And I will add, too, that we do have some of what Kevin has as well with the mandated education. Some states, we see that as well.
Wow, do you? I didn't realize that. How about from when you talk about your credentials that you have, one of the big buzzwords is micro-credentials in the industry. Do you see any trends one way or another of people wanting smaller and smaller credentials, or more limited? Is that something that's on your radar that you think about? What are your thoughts on that, Jake?
It is, yes. It's something that we're actively looking at, trying to come up with shorter, smaller, bite-sized pieces of content to provide to our learners. Because, traditionally our courses are 1 to 2.5 day long training experiences, and this is a day and age where people want to watch a 5-second YouTube video and move on to the next thing. It's a real challenge, but that is definitely something we're looking at right now, is how to shorten things and provide maybe even badges for smaller pieces of information.
I see. Kevin, any of that request for smaller credentials or smaller pieces of content from your learner base? Is that something that you're dealing with, or you just do it in hour chunks?
No, they want micro learning, and one of our most requested activities is what we call the question of the week. So we send out a one-question quiz that's hosted in the LMS, and we send out an e-blast to our membership with the direct link into the quiz, the one-question quiz in the LMS, and that's very popular.
Wow. Do they get a CME credit for that, or a MOC credit for that?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Wow.
And we found a way to make it. I believe it's a quarter hour of credit, and so they add that up. They do it once a week. 52 weeks, they can get some serious credit.
Wow, great idea. Great idea. That's a way to get people in once a week. That's you're doing better than most with that strategy. All right, well, great. Let's keep moving. Looks like we have a poll, so we'll get that set up technically for you. And on the left-hand side of your screen there, you should be able to enter in your answer. But so we have a lot of diverse professionals on the webinar today on the discussion. So where are you in the journey to a lifelong learning business in your organization? Have you figured it out? Are you highly successful? At this point, in which case you might hear from us for a upcoming panel discussion. Have you experienced limited success? Are you struggling with this? Are you in the process of really trying to adapt this or adopt a approach of just going from learning pieces to a more strategic career approach? You don't know what lifelong learning is and can't understand why that's relevant to this topic or other, please enter it into the panel pane. All right. So we have that opened up, Allison?
We do, John. If you click on the polls tab and scroll down, you should see those answers coming through.
I wasn't scrolling far enough. Thank you. I was just seeing if you were on mute. All right. So we got, you can see it building here. We're highly successful and differentiated, 11%. So that's great. We'll have to follow up and hear how you're doing. Also in the question and answer panel, please, as I mentioned before, if you have thoughts on these questions from your own organizations or things we're not covering, I'm trying to work in those questions as we're talking. We have limited experience limited success, rather, 29%. 1/3 of us, that's kind of realistic, I would imagine. We're in the process of adopting a lifelong approach. So another third is realizing, and I guess that's why you're here and why we put on the webinar, is a lot of organizations. Only 10% of us, hope are just joking about what lifelong learning is, and then we'll follow up on the question box. So thanks everybody for entering it into there. We'll peruse those questions here in just a second. You can go ahead and close that out, Allison, and I'll move along at this point. So question number 3, as we dig a little deeper here, and one of the things we just keep running into is this, or I keep running into is organizations trying to decide, do we give prescribed paths, or do we just allow learners to come in for self-service and find and search for what they want? Is there a way to do best of both worlds? And every organization I talk to, they seem to have different strategies on this, and their learners have different priorities on how they want to do it. And so curious to see how you've embraced that. Maybe we'll start with Jake on this one. Curious to see how you've tried to get your arms around this for your organization, and how you approach the way of guiding or just letting learners figure it out.
Yeah, in our case, it's really both. With maybe a leaning towards the guided learning path. Our learners, they really appreciate a well-thought-out, pre-developed curriculum and guided path that we have for them. And it's really under the direction of, we have a team of great subject matter experts, instructors. They have to hold our highest credentials in our industry, participate in training and recertification to teach. And as a result, our students really look up to them. And to earn our credentials, they must take certain courses and pass specific exams within specific time frames. So we really provide a guided framework for them to go through. But at the same time, many of our students, they prefer to go through our online courses on their own time, at their own pace, and we offer them the flexibility, again, they could do it in the classroom or they could do it online. And we also allow them to take any of our courses in any order, so they do have some flexibility there. We also have more than 300 products, as I said, in our LMS. They're all tagged by topics, and our learners are free to take anything at all that interests them, either for the pure knowledge of it or to help them earn CE credits to earn or maintain one of our credentials. So just perusing through our taxonomy, you'll find all kinds of diverse topics, from as strange things as cloud computing, energy conservation, parliamentary procedure, to pets and service animals. We have all kinds of interesting things in there that people can learn more about. And then one final thing, a major benefit of our e-learning programs in the LMS is it enables our learners to earn our credentials faster than ever before. Back in the old days, they had to wait for an instructor-led course to actually come to their city to be trained. Now these courses are available 24/7 through our LMS, and the numbers are proving that our members are earning our credentials much faster.
Wow, that's great. So that's the second time now you came today with a good success metric with the increase of salaries, now the acceleration of earning that. And so, for all the listeners, that's a serious best practice, is always starting with the business goals of what you're trying to improve, and then constantly measuring against that over time to see your progress and to change or adjust course to those progress, to that progress. But in Jake's case, that's two phenomenal, easily measurable criteria that helps to define success. How about you, Kevin? What's your approach on how you structure your content, and I guess as a second follow-on question, how you measure success on that to see if you are successful?
Well, our offering is slightly different than what Jake was describing. Is our learners solely value self-service a la carte type of activities based on topics they're interested in. So we don't provide any kind of, within our catalog on the LMS, we don't provide any kind of guided or leveled learning paths because our dermatologists have already gone through this type of learning as medical students and residents. So when they come to us, they need to meet certain benchmarks as far as credits and topics, but we provide it in a self-service a la carte type of manner because we're not going to provide them any kind of you're a doctor, you're a super doctor, you're a platinum level doctor. There's no kind of pre-packaging of those kind of credentials. So they're primarily focused on finding the relevant topics, the hot topics in dermatology as fast as they can within our interface. But one thing that Jake pointed out I thought was kind of interesting is talking about how these different curricula are organized. That's something that we're looking into right now. So since our activities are self-service a la carte, they've kind of grown organically. Like we have a large number of activities on one topic, but maybe a smaller number of activities on other topics. And what we're attempting to do right now is build up what we're calling the core curriculum for dermatologists. So this isn't something that's required for them to learn, but we're trying to look for all the different content gaps because our portfolio has kind of grown organically based on need. We're kind of taking a step back and we're trying to build an ideal curriculum on the back end, find out where our gaps are to fill in the activities. And also, this is something that I'm going to be talking to Tamer's team in the coming months. We'd like to look at how the LMS can facilitate it from the learner side once we have this core curriculum in place. And this will take months, if not years. But once we have that the skeleton behind our activities, and we start to look at things that are kind of atrophied a little bit and build that up, how can the learner use that core curriculum, maybe tagging activities in the LMS where they could look at and build their own learning plan, where they can look at the gaps.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent.
And we're seeing that site, the self-service. Thank you, Kevin. It's really exciting because we see some of that early with assessment and wanting like testing to be like self-driven, where the learner drives and says, I want to take these following questions in these topic areas to strengthen my gaps that you've told me about in my previous self-assessments, and then let me hone in then and drill in practice. And what we've seen in terms of data, and if you've seen the cognitive science behind it seems like you're pretty supportive that this type of learning technology works very well, and it's fairly popular and even growing at a pace that is outpacing anything else that we see on the site. And then we're seeing similar interest in having participants, learners, kind of create their own, curate their own content plans. And in the organizations we have, the brands and the organizations we have as our clients, we feel like they have a really good position in the marketplace to be the career guidance that the participants need. They need someone, like Jake mentioned, is that structured plan, even though that structured plan might include very informal content, micro-learning, and maybe even some more formal content. They need someone in their busy lives to tell them this is the guide and path you need to take, because we know the industry, we know where the skills are needed for these particular positions or specialties.
And that just begs the question, I think anyway, of how does AI, artificial intelligence, or machine language play into getting the content to the right content to the right person? Is there any connections there? Anything that you guys are working on down that vein?
We're careful not to expose too much on these types of codes, but I would love to share what we think we can do. But in general, we think AI does do some of the heavy lifting of helping both analyze data and spotting out trends in performance and also results in gaps, and helping both the administrators and the program directors of these education and e-learning operations to plan out content, find out what's working, what's not, and on the learner side, help them identify it. So at a general level, definitely to help, because there's so much, this data-rich industry that we're in, there's a lot of things that could be signal noise, and automation and machine learning could at least put a lasso around things and spot out trends that, a human eye can do, but over spreadsheets, that becomes harder to do. And so I think I'm very bullish to see that, although they cannot take over what, the beauty of instructional design or putting together content, they could at least find out things that the designers of learning could use to further design or improve their programs. I hope that's not too general of a response with that.
No, that's great. You don't have to worry about sharing trade secrets. It's just between us.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's not top secret stuff, but generally that's the approach we would answer.
Just us and a few dozen of our closest friends. That's it.
That's right.
Exactly. All right, moving right along. So, Kevin, how about in your organization, are you thinking about digital badges, credentials? I think you said earlier on in the call, not really, because they already have their certifications from schooling. But how is this not playing into a situation like you run?
Well, John, this is an easy one, because since our membership are doctors, they don't require digital badges or credentials to further their career from us. However, that said, our members are very conscious of their peer performance. So what are their peers doing? What are their peers interested in? So I could see, badging or, within a kind of a gamification at the activity level. So embedding within an activity some gamification, leaderboards, etc., and peer feedback on distractors is a big thing that we see. So even though they're not looking to us for credentials, they are looking to us to show them what their peers are doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. From a membership standpoint, are your members always individuals, or do you have like health systems that might have a lot of dermatologists that are members under that umbrella? What is there a certain model you have?
It's evolving. I'd say 20 years ago, dermatologists were more likely to be sole practitioners, so they just would be office of one. But they are really being drawn into physicians groups and things like that. So, but how we deliver activities is a one-to-one still.
I see. Great, thank you. And Jake, your thoughts on this? You've been sharing them all along, but maybe you can capsulize them here.
Sure, no problem. Well, we don't currently offer digital badging, but we do have, as I mentioned, a robust credentialing program that could translate to this format. Digital badges could be a great way to publicly recognize online all of the hard work of our designees. And again, as I mentioned, our programs are characterized pretty much by 1 to 2.5 day long courses with an exam at the end. So earning credentials can actually be a lengthy, could take years, and be a significant expense for people. So because of that, we do see a lot of potential in digital badges and microlearning, and we're actively exploring this for our members. Microlearning, of course, it provides recognition options for our learners that are shorter and more cost-effective. So it's definitely something we're looking at.
Wow. I see a lot in your industry. I would see a lot of value on getting those digital badges, providing them to those that earn certification, so that they could use them on their LinkedIn profile or other ways to perhaps get other jobs or better jobs in the future. So when you don't have your schooling as your main certification, digital badges we've seen have provided a lot of value to try to raise awareness in any given industry. Your thoughts on that, Tamer? Are you seeing a rise of that, or you think it's all hype?
No, it's definitely not hype. I mean, we typically are careful, because I think in learning technology there is a little bit of a hype mentality and buzzwords, but I think the aspect of defining a subset of skills as a credential or some type of micro-credential is something that we think we're going to continue to grow, because I think Kevin brought it up earlier, is it's no longer an option for lifelong learning. It's part of everybody in a professional adult working life, that they have to continue to be relevant with skills. Those skills may not be in the formal the graduate or certification or credential that we're typically used to. And we may have to outline skills, whether they're in real estate, IT, any kind of white-collar, blue-collar trade industry, where the skills are defined at maybe a more specific and a handful of type skills that you need for a particular responsibility, and those are portable for a job profile or a resume that I think will continue to grow. We've seen them. I think the badge economy has continued to increase, and some of that is a little bit of hype, but I think it's real in terms of its longevity. It may not. It may be that they transform what they represent and how they're actually authenticated, but we think that they are here to stay, and they're continuing to be embraced by the organizations. And we think the companies and the professional bodies are the ones that potentially are the record keepers, and maybe the ones that endorse some of these skill sets.
Great. Well, thank you. All right, maybe we're going to jump past that poll here just for time's sake, because I'd love to hear from our panelists here the approach to pricing and packaging content. So I've personally been working and thinking about this now for years, of evaluating all the different strategies that are out there of selling content in the ways that you can do, either including it with your membership, or a la carte, or subscriptions, or bundling courses together. paying for all you can eat on any courses, on a monthly basis. There's really just countless models out there. And love to hear how you're approaching it. Kevin, maybe we'll start with you on this one. And how do you think about pricing and packaging your content?
Well, John, the majority of our digital content is offered free as a member benefit with their dues. However, we do charge for select subscription or premium activities. So right now our LMS catalog isn't organized by subscription access levels, the kind of the freemium model, but we have considered this approach. So we have considered having a select amount of activities free and then like an all-inclusive paid subscription that would offer, other activities. But we, right now the majority is free. Mm-hmm. And then how do you move? It's difficult to move to that freemium model once most things are free.
Yeah, it's hard to take free back. When you included training free with a membership, was there any increase in membership pricing at that, or did you just look at it as this is a huge member benefit and it's just part of our duty to create this content?
Well, it is a duty. Like I said, the three pillars: education, advocacy, and I forgot the third pillar. Research. But that is our mission, and so with their member dues, to provide them an education, that's one of our goals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Jake, how about from your standpoint, how do you price and package and sell the content? What's your strategy?
Sure, we take a little bit of a different approach than Kevin's organization. In our industry, we strongly believe there is a value to education and training, and there should be a fee associated with that training. We believe it's okay to pay for education the same way members might budget for other essential services. But that said, we always offer pricing discounts for our members over our non-members. We set the expectation that members will save in the long run by joining our organization. The numbers prove that this has been successful, as most of our registrants for our 200-level series and higher are all pretty much CAI members, so that it does seem to be working. And if anybody wants specifics, we charge $459 for our e-learning courses for members, $559 for non-members. Our webinars are $69 for members, $99 for non-members. We're also doing more experimenting with bundling, especially our conference recordings, so people can purchase the sessions that happened at our live events for a discounted rate. As a side, we actually give all of our conference attendees access to the sessions at no additional cost. So if they attended the event live, they get everything for free. But if they didn't attend, they have the ability to pay for it.
Wow, great. Well, that's impressive. Yeah, you got a lot of balls in the air that way. Well, as we're sliding into the hour, why don't we just stick with you, Jake, and you're about 5 years further along this path than a lot of folks perhaps on the phone or listening to this in the future. Is there any advice that you'd care to share here about how to get started and trying to improve lifelong offerings? What's your best advice?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'd love to take a crack at this. As I mentioned previously, having a platform to host and sell our education products, our LMS, has really been key for us. I would say that's number one. It also helps to have a devoted team of subject matter experts, flexibility from your supervisor and your organizational leadership to experiment, try new things, and have excellent consultants and third-party vendors to help make you look good and truly help serve and educate your members. And finally, I'd say my parting advice is try to stay one or even few steps ahead of your learners and your members. Gently lead them to using new technologies and formats to acquire the training that only your organization can provide. So you want to definitely attend a lot of conferences and work with knowledgeable vendors to keep up to date on the latest and greatest emerging technologies that are out there.
Wow, maybe even listening to panel discussions of experts like yourself.
Thanks.
Might be away. Kevin, how about you? Thanks for that, Jake. Kevin, how about you? What's your parting advice here to our guests?
Well, my parting advice is colored a little bit by my role in improving the user experience, but I'd say focus on the user experience because your content can be great, but if users can't access it easily when and how they need it, mobile, desktop, iPad, whatever, Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi, then I think all of your efforts as educators might be wasted because your user experience has any kind of roadblock. I kind of want to make a 70s reference. If anybody remembers the Miller Lite commercials from the 70s, where it tastes great, less filling, what's the most important thing? And in our world as digital educators, it's less clicks and more data. The user needs less clicks, so an improved user experience. And on the admin side, we need more data from our LMS vendors so that we can then turn around and improve that user experience. So that's my
excellent.
advice.
That's good advice. Great advice, even. Tamer, it could be hard to top that, but go ahead and try.
Yeah, no, I'll just leverage their experiences, knowing them both. I think Jake doesn't mention something that he's just been great at, and his colleagues, and we've been working with him for quite a bit. It feels like we would do even more than 5 years because of the implementation time, but they never stop having fun, and they always look above the pixel level detail. They look at the business and what they're trying to solve and the experience in general. They know the details will have to be worked out, but they don't let that stumble their general and overall objective. And I've seen them in routine visits and milestones, and they always have that constant approach. And it's just been a great collaboration, and it's truly a collaboration. And what I've seen in Kevin and his team, and then just in general that's worked out, is that constant vision, the insights from, because Kevin's got an experience from both corporate, nonprofit, and just general overall learning and development. He's had a good hand on what's going on in the industry and aligning with that, but also what his specific culture has done and needed. And they continue to want to push us as their vendor, as a partner, where we just come together and say, what if we have this? They knew that we may not have that functionality at start, or they have similarities in what they see in our platform, but they want to extend it. And they've given us an opportunity to have that dialogue, and that's been very successful. So I would say giving the opportunity to have that dialogue and collaboration with the client or the vendor. And on Jake's side is having a constant focus on the business and having a constant focus on making sure this is a fun approach. I think those ideas are very successful in the other clients that we see as well.
Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. Sage advice here from our panelists. Kevin Pierce, Manager of Digital Learning at the American Academy of Dermatology. Jake Gold, Director of Educational Development at the Community Associations Institute. And Tamer Lee at the Senior Vice President of Education, GM of Education at Community Brands. Thank you very much for attending today, everybody. Email John Lay. We'll have that in the follow-up, johnlay@talentedlearning.com, to request your CAE credit for today if you want one. And certainly reach out to myself or Tamer with any questions. And if you have any questions for our panelists here, go ahead and send them to us, and we'll filter them through. And we thank you all for your time and our panelists for their time and expertise. And we hope that you had a valuable session here. Thank you.